Hey there, and welcome back. We're diving deep today into a story packed with drama and intrigue and some really big questions.
Yeah.
We're exploring the conquest of Canaan, by the Israelites, as told in the book of Joshua.
It's a story that has captivated people for centuries, really. But what we're doing today is peeling back the layers, going beyond that surface level retelling.
Right. We're using scholarly commentaries to guide us.
Exactly. We're going to dig into those details, the historical context, all those nuances
Yeah.
that often get missed.
Yeah, think about it. Ancient warfare, cultural clashes, the challenges of leadership. It's a story that's as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago.
You got it.
So let's set the stage. The book of Joshua picks up right after the death of Moses.
Right.
The Israelites, after 40 years of wandering in the desert, are finally about to enter the promised land.
Wow. What a moment.
Right. But can you imagine the pressure on Joshua, stepping into some pretty big sandals, taking over for a legend, a figure like Moses?
Oh, yeah. I mean, talk about a tough act to follow.
Right.
And it wasn't just Joshua who was facing all this uncertainty. You had the Israelites themselves on the brink of a massive transition. I mean, they'd been nomadic for generations, and now they were going to become a settled nation.
Right. A huge shift.
Excitement for sure, but also a lot of fear and anxiety, I bet.
Absolutely. And that's where this scene comes in, this powerful scene where the Lord gives Joshua direct commands.
Right.
It's this incredible mix of promise and challenge. The Lord is basically saying, I will be with you, just like I was with Moses, but you need to obey me completely.
And the way those commands are phrased is so interesting. The Lord repeats this phrase over and over, sole of your foot, emphasizing that physical act of taking possession of the land. It's not just a metaphor, this conquest.
Right.
It's about physically walking on the ground, inhabiting it.
It's such a vivid image.
Yeah, it is.
Of the Israelites claiming the land, step by step, foot by foot.
Exactly. A very tangible, grounded way of thinking about this conquest.
Okay, so the Israelites are ready to move forward. And their first big obstacle is the Jordan River. It's springtime, the river is flooded. And it's a pretty daunting sight.
Oh, yeah. And this is where we hit one of the most dramatic miracles in the story.
Right. This is big.
The river just stops flowing, allowing the Israelites to walk across on dry ground.
Wow.
It's a clear display of divine power, a sign that the Lord is with them.
It's powerful. And there's also this detail that I find so fascinating. The priests who are carrying the Ark of the Covenant, they stand in the middle of that dry riverbed until every single Israelite has crossed. Nobody is left behind. It really underscores the importance of unity and collective action.
It does. It suggests that this whole endeavor is not about individual glory. It's not about individual achievement. It's about the entire community moving forward together as one.
That's a great point. And to make sure they never forget it, they commemorate this event by taking 12 stones from the riverbed, one for each tribe.
Right. Those stones become a physical reminder of what happened there, something tangible to pass down to future generation.
Yeah, and the text actually says that these stones are meant to be conversation starters.
Oh, interesting.
Parents are supposed to use those stones to explain the story to their children.
Yeah.
To keep that memory alive and the meaning of that event alive.
Wow. It's all about preserving their history, their identity, passing it on.
Okay, so the Jordan River has been crossed. It's time for the conquest to begin. And one of the first major targets is the city of Jericho.
Jericho, heavily fortified, a real challenge for the Israelites, but they approach it in a way that's, well, a little unconventional.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a little different.
It is.
Instead of a straight-up attack, they march around the city once a day for 6 days. Priests are blowing trumpets. The Ark of the Covenant is leading the way. This strange, ritualistic procession.
And on that 7th day, they march around the city 7 times. The priests blow their trumpets, the people shout, and the walls of Jericho come tumbling down.
It's amazing.
Dramatic victory, totally attributed to divine intervention.
But the conquest doesn't always go so smoothly, does it? Their next target is the city of A, and things take a very unexpected turn.
Yeah. The Israelites, maybe a little overconfident, after their success at Jericho, they suffer a pretty humiliating defeat. Forced to retreat, left wondering what went wrong.
And this is where the story takes a fascinating turn inward.
Right.
The defeat at A isn't blamed on the enemy's strength. or on bad strategy.
Right.
It's blamed on a sin committed within the Israelite camp.
That's right. One man, Achan, had disobeyed the Lord's commands by taking some of the spoils from Jericho, things that were supposed to be devoted to the Lord.
And it seems like such a small act.
It does. But it has devastating consequences for the entire community.
It really emphasizes this idea that in their system, individual actions have ripple effects, impacting the whole group. Their success is tied to their obedience to the Lord. And when that covenant is broken, it jeopardizes everyone.
Yeah. It raises a lot of questions about collective responsibility, the consequences of disobedience, that complex relationship between individual actions and communal well-being.
So, they deal with Achan's transgression. They go back to Ai. And this time, victory is theirs. The conquest continues. City after city falls.
And we see them using all sorts of tactics, adapting to different situations, ambushes, surprise attacks, sieges. It's not just one straightforward approach.
And some of these battles are pretty brutal.
Yeah.
The Israelites are commanded to annihilate the inhabitants of these cities, to leave no survivors.
It's a difficult concept to grapple with, even thousands of years later.
It really is, and it raises all these questions about the nature of war, the justification for violence, and how we're supposed to interpret religious texts.
It does. It's a reminder that even these ancient narratives can contain really challenging moral and ethical dilemmas.
This is not a story. That shies away from the complexities of human experience. And in the midst of all this external conflict, there's also some internal tension brewing. The Gibeonites, a group of Canaanites, fearing for their lives, they decide to trick the Israelites.
Oh, yeah. They come up with this elaborate ruse, wearing worn-out clothes, carrying moldy bread, pretending to have traveled from a distant land.
Wow.
Their goal, to convince the Israelites to make a peace treaty.
And it works.
It does. The Israelites, fooled by their deception, make that treaty, swear an oath to protect them.
But when the truth comes out, they face a real dilemma.
A tough one.
Yeah.
Do they break their oath, even though they were tricked into it?
Yeah.
Or do they uphold their word, even though they were deceived?
There's no easy answer. And it raises so many questions about the nature of truth, the power of promises, the complexities of navigating those situations where there's no clear right or wrong.
And it also shows that the Canaanites, they weren't just passive figures in this story.
Right?
Resourceful, strategic, willing to do whatever it took to survive.
Okay, so the major conquests are largely complete. It's time to divide the land among those 12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah, this is a big moment.
And it's not just about geography. It's about establishing their identity as a nation.
Absolutely. The division of the land. It's pivotal. It marks their transition from a nomadic people to a settled nation. Defined territories, tribal identities, a sense of belonging. It's laying the groundwork for their future.
We see those specific tribal territories being assigned with some really interesting details.
Oh, yeah?
Like Caleb, remember him? One of the spies sent into Canaan years earlier.
Right.
He requests Hebron as his inheritance.
Oh, wow.
Such a powerful reminder of his unwavering faith and courage. Reinforces this idea that faithfulness to the Lord is rewarded.
Yeah.
And within this newly allocated land, the Israelites establish these unique social and legal structures.
Yeah. Like what?
One that really stands out to me is the concept of cities of refuge.
Cities of refuge. Okay.
These were cities designated as safe havens for people who had accidentally killed someone.
Oh, interesting.
Strategically located throughout the land so that anyone seeking refuge could reach one quickly.
Like an early attempt to create a more just society.
Exactly. It's like offering a path to reconciliation, tempering that potential for endless cycles of revenge.
And it acknowledges that unintentional harm. It can happen.
Right.
And there needs to be a system to address those situations with fairness and compassion.
Alongside those cities of refuge, we see the establishment of Levitical cities. These were cities specifically for the tribe of Levi, who served as priests and caretakers of religious rituals.
The Levites played such a crucial role in maintaining that spiritual and cultural life of the Israelite nation.
Absolutely.
Giving them designated cities. It ensured that continuation of those religious practices, those traditions that were essential to their identity.
It really highlights the central importance of religious observance in this newly established nation. Allocating those Levitical cities underscored that connection between religious practice and the well-being of the community. But even with the land divided and these structures in place, there are still challenges. and tensions that emerge. It's fascinating. Even after the Israelites conquer the land and start setting up their new society, they still face these moments of conflict. Uncertainty really goes to show that nation building, never simple.
Absolutely not. And one of the most dramatic examples of this has got to be the incident with the altar.
Oh, right.
Remember those tribes?
Yeah.
Reuben, Gad, half of Manasseh.
Yeah.
They'd already been granted their territories east of the Jordan River.
Right. And they'd pledged to help the other tribes conquer the land west of the Jordan before settling down permanently.
Exactly. And they fulfilled that promise. They did their part.
Yeah.
But then they built this massive altar
right
near the Jordan River.
And that set off alarm bells for the other tribes.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
They saw it as a potential act of rebellion.
Right. Like these eastern tribes. Are they trying to create their own religious center?
Separate from the tabernacle at Shiloh.
Yeah. Almost led to a civil war.
I know. The other tribes were furious, ready to fight.
It was a tense situation.
Oh, for sure. But before things escalated, they decided to send a delegation to those eastern tribes just to figure out what was going on.
Crucial moment.
Yeah.
Good thing they chose dialogue over immediate action.
It is. Communication is key, especially when you're dealing with potential conflict.
Absolutely.
And as it turned out, those eastern tribes, they weren't trying to rebel at all.
Oh, wow.
They explained that the altar wasn't for sacrifices. It was just a symbol, a reminder of their unity with the tribes on the west side.
A physical representation of their shared faith.
Yeah.
Their commitment to the Lord.
Exactly.
It's incredible how a simple misunderstanding could have led to such disaster.
It really is. And it highlights the importance of clear communication,
Yeah.
The need to seek understanding before jumping to conclusions.
It's a good reminder for us all, isn't it? It really is. Now let's shift gears a bit. Focus on Joshua's later years. He's getting older, knows his time is coming to an end. So he calls all the Israelites together for one final address.
This is a powerful scene.
It is. He's standing there, this seasoned leader, looking back on everything they've been through, the triumphs, the struggle.
When his message...
A blend of reflection, warning, encouragement.
He reminds them of all they've accomplished, how the Lord has been faithful, but he also warns them about the dangers of complacency, the allure of those surrounding cultures.
He's basically saying, don't forget who you are, remember where you came from, what you stand for.
He lays it out for them, gives them a choice. Choose this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
A powerful declaration of personal commitment.
Absolutely. And he doesn't just say it. He backs it up, reminds them of their history.
Right. How they were blessed when they obeyed the Lord, how they suffered when they strayed.
It's about choices and consequences.
It is a timeless lesson.
Absolutely. And to really drive that message home, he leads them in a renewal of the covenant.
At Shechem. Significant spot. Associated with their patriarch, Jacob.
Yeah, right.
Publicly reaffirmed their commitment to the Lord.
And to make it even more concrete, more tangible, he sets up this large stone under an oak tree near the shrine dedicated to the Lord. A physical marker, a reminder of that promise.
Physical objects, locations. They can be so powerful.
Yeah.
Shaping collective memory, identity.
Symbols, connecting people to their past, their beliefs. Powerful stuff.
So powerful.
Yeah.
And shortly after this covenant renewal, Joshua passes away. He's buried in his territory. The end of an era.
But the book doesn't end there.
It doesn't.
It concludes with this beautiful detail, the burial of Joseph's bones in Shechem.
That is beautiful. Remember Joseph. His story began in Genesis. The dreams, betrayal, rise to power in Egypt.
His life, a story of hardship, resilience, and ultimately God's faithfulness.
And burying his bones in Shechem. It connects the conquest of Canaan back to those promises made to the patriarchs.
Links Joshua's leadership to the very origins of the Israelite people.
Full circle. It's not just about conquest. It's about the fulfillment of a promise that spanned generations.
We've seen the Israelites conquer the land, divide it up, establish a system of law. We've seen them face those internal conflicts, navigate tricky moral dilemmas.
Grapple with the challenges of leadership and faith.
It's not just about what happened thousands of years ago, though.
You got it. The book of Joshua. It's filled with insights, lessons, still relevant today.
It's amazing how the book of Joshua, it's this epic tale of conquest and battles, but it's also this really personal story about leadership, faith, what it takes to build a nation. And even though it's thousands of years old, it's still full of relatable moments, timeless themes.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about those battles, victories. You see these people, the Israelites, they're grappling with Fear, doubt, temptation, all very human emotions. We still deal with that stuff today.
Right. And they make mistakes. They have their own internal conflicts. They come up against these moral gray areas that really make you think, what would I have done in that situation?
Yeah.
Like with Achan, remember?
Yeah.
Taking the spoils from Jericho? It seems like a small thing on the surface, disobeying. But the consequences for the entire community, huge. It really shows you how connected they were, how one person's choices could affect everyone.
It makes you think about, the weight of your own choices, for sure.
It does, for sure. And then you've got that Gibeonite deception.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole other level.
Right.
Shows you that the Canaanites, they weren't just passive in all of this.
Right.
They were smart, resourceful. They used strategy. And they were definitely willing to do whatever it took to survive.
And it put the Israelites in a really tricky position.
Oh,
they swore an oath to protect the Gibeonites, even though it was all based on a lie.
Right.
So what do? Keep their word, even though they were tricked. Ugh, tough call. No easy answer there.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Brings up all these questions about truth and promises.
Yeah.
And how we navigate those situations where there's just no easy right or wrong.
Yeah, it really makes you think. And speaking of tough situations, think about Joshua himself.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about pressure. Stepping into Moses' shoes.
Not easy.
Leading a whole nation through this conquest, establishing a new society, holding everything together. That's a lot.
It is.
It's amazing how he did it. Maintained unity, inspired faith, guided them to create a new life in this new land.
It is.
He had challenges from every side, external, internal, but he always seemed to come back to this core message: stay faithful to the Lord, and you'll find the strength, the guidance you need.
Powerful. And it's a message that still resonates today.
It does. It speaks to that power of faith, giving you that sense of grounding, purpose, especially when things are tough. And it also makes you think about what leadership really is. It's not about bossing people around. It's about inspiring them, building trust, staying true to your word, even when things get tough. It's about serving people, not just leading them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So looking back at everything we've learned in this deep dive, it's incredible just how relevant these themes still are to us today.
Yeah.
We've talked about the choices we make and what comes after. The ups and downs of leadership, the power of faith. These are all things we still face on our own journeys.
Every day.
And the book of Joshua, it gives us guidance, inspiration, but it doesn't shy away from those tough questions either.
Yeah.
It leaves you thinking about violence and how we interpret religious texts, the complexities of building a nation, issues that are still being debated, even today.
Definitely.
Like an invitation to really engage with those questions, to grapple with the moral and ethical sides of history, and how all of that informs how we see the world today. It's not about having all the answers. It's about exploring, wrestling with these ideas as we move forward.
That's the beauty of these deep dives, isn't it?
It really is.
They spark curiosity, push us to think critically, help us engage with the world in a more informed, thoughtful way. So, as you go on thinking about the book of Joshua, remember, it's more than just an old story. It's a reflection on what it means to be human, a source of wisdom, a story that still shapes how we understand faith, leadership, and all the choices we make. Keep asking those questions, keep exploring, and keep seeking that deeper understanding of the world around you.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you found this deep dive insightful